Good morning, Kalada.
All right. So let's quickly look at some of the issues before us this day. First, the Minister for Solid Minerals coming out to say prominent Nigerians are beyond the terror attacks happening in the country. And the last time you and I spoke, we talked about terror in the northeast, the northwest, the north central, now even in the southwest, of course, pockets of it in the southeast and the south, almost all of the geopolitical zones in the country. On Saturday, or was it Sunday, a former army chief, a former high-ranking army personnel came out and said that the death of the former chief of army staff was as a result of terror attacks, that the terror financiers were making sure that nothing disrupts their business, and so they plotted the death of Atairu, the former chief of army staff. Now, I look at some of these allegations and I'm wondering. I'm also looking at what Senator Ali Ndume said, where he mentioned the fact, or I don't know if it's a fact, but he did mention that our security men are not well trained. So I don't know which one to take. And so I've decided to bring you into the studio to help us, educate us on what the issues really are. The last time you were on the show, you said it's not necessarily about the manpower or the lack of skill set. It's about the willpower of the government. The lack of willpower, does it now, how do I say now, correlates with what Solid Minerals has said, that prominent Nigerians are behind, the terror attack? So let's start from there. What do you make of these allegations about prominent Nigerians and maybe politicians being terror financiers in the country?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to your program again.
Okay.
Of course, this has been in the air. If Nigeria has to fight terrorism for more than how many years now, then there is something behind it. For even a formal war between two countries, if it continues for over a time, it means that it's being supported or financed from a particular place. So for us, when it's become more than an unending problem, Nigeria has spent more than $20 billion in fighting Boko Haram alone, and this has taken us, more than 10, 20 years now, and we cannot continue like this. It means that somebody is spending the money and giving the people the money, buying them the arms and ammunition to do what they want to do. I remember when my former constituency, the DSS came out to say that a top ranking banking official was involved in terror financing. Many people were laughing. Oh, how can he be involved in terror financing? But one thing people don't know is that these agencies have a lot of information. And this information, sometimes they are not, they won't come out to tell everybody everything that is happening. But this is a particular situation where General Ali Kefi has come out to mention it, that, look, some people are behind this thing. And I think that the present government is better that they go ahead and investigate it properly. Because if they don't, it has a way of coming to, consume them. So I think they will take it more seriously.
Now, Mr. Amachree, you worked for the DSS, like you said, an intelligence agency. When you hear stories like, Major General Ali Kefi, retired, what he said about Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atairu being killed by terror financiers, you don't take it lightly. You want to go and gather a lot of intelligence to see how we can get to the root of this issue. if they are now targeting the Chief of Army Staff or the Office of the Chief of Army Staff, that's like the first line of the army defense, then there is a problem. You want to think that this is eating very, very deep into the Nigerian system. Now, when you also listen to Dela Lake's statement, you understand that some of these banditry, some of these terrorism are as a result of mineral resources. They want to be able to, steal from Nigeria. What is the DSS, in your opinion? What are the intelligence agencies doing? Why can they not go after the financiers? Because if you, in a chess game, catch the king, you've won the game.
I can tell you right now that they are doing their best, and of course they are very fruitful in what they are doing. And I can also add to it that they know a lot more than what the public is even seeing right now. Remember, I don't know if you remember, you're a journalist, you should have remembered this, when the DSS arrested a top banking official.
Okay.
And one of the accusations was that they are charging him for terrorist financing. Remember?
Yes, I do.
And when they did that, a lot of the people in public were like, oh, how can he? He's just a banker. How can he be financing that? But they have the information and they are going to do it. But remember, one important thing, the DSS, the police, even the military to an extent, are under the presidency. They are under the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And they cannot on their own independently go out to start investigating or to start, arranging for prosecution of anybody. That's what many people don't understand. But that's the truth. Because the Department of State Services is part of the presidency. So it is the president. Like I said in our last interview, the political will have to come. Many of these things are not being pursued for political reasons. For political reasons. Because this particular information was available to the former president, Buhari. And what did he do with it? He didn't do anything. They told him, this is what is going on, this is what is going on, this one, and he just overlooked it. He doesn't have the political will to prosecute it. So we'll look again whether the present president will do that, because some of these things are complicated, so to say, and political decisions are very, very hard to take, especially if there's a complicated situation.
When you say complicated, can you explain? Because once again, I need to make it clear that we're talking about the Office of the Chief of Army Staff. And now, even the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is being threatened because of trying to disrupt the terrorist activities. So if these high-ranking people can be threatened or even killed, what about the Nigerian on the street? What about the masses, so to say? What then is their hope? And that's why I'm saying, what could be that complication that would stop the president from acting or, cause a lack of
in a way, I'm happy that it's come up. It's come up at this time, and a lot of people are going to hear a lot of things. Okay. When the general building crash, many of the saying it because now but the military is now saying, look, happened. Okay, and that's what I'm saying about the complication of the political will. Political wills are not easy decisions to make. Because when a politician, or should I say the president, will have to take a decision, or even a governor, want to take a decision about certain issues, he has to consider all the different variables that are involved. He cannot just come out and say this, because the social media or the media is saying this, so let us all say this. No. There are certain things that are not going to be said for political reasons, for security reasons, for religious reasons, for ethnic reasons. And this is what I call the complications. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, so now we understand the complications. However, we also need the political will from the president. I would first of all like to ask, do you see this current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, showing that political will to fight against these terrorists and their financiers? Because now the terrorist activities have been taken to Abuja. They have reached Abuja now. Secondly, the question I want to ask is, what can the people do to help the president have or possess the political will with which he can help fight, or with which he can fight the terrorists? Because yet again, if the chief of army staff is being killed by terrorists, what is the hope of the common man? I keep asking that question.
Okay. I would say that it is even in the best interest of the president to exercise those political wills that he has. It is in his best interest. Because you can imagine if terrorists are attacking people, kidnapping anyhow they like in the Federal Capital Territory, and then the next thing, either maybe we'll hear that a minister or a senator or a member of the House of Rep has been kidnapped. Many people don't think about this, but these are possibilities. And if a senator, for instance, is kidnapped, or a high-ranking minister, think of what the position of the president will be. So the president himself have to have the political will, because it is now his government. And all the, like they will say, the buck stops on his table. So for him to make sure that this thing does not spread out, or if, to curb it where it is at this time, is to exercise his political will in dealing with it. Because this cannot be an emotional thing, and it cannot be a religious or ethnic thing. The criminal enterprise that is going on is feeding on the economy of Nigeria. And if you are the president and then you are talking about making things better for the common man or the country itself, and you see this hole, a gaping hole, then I think it's proper that the president addresses it. And I think he will, because he's been taking some steps that I really like, when it comes to certain national issues. So continue taking those those steps, and we might get somewhere.
All right. I also asked about what the people can contribute, so that the president can have the political will, because you say there are complications, and these complications can be religious, ethnic, can be political as well. You gave some of the examples of the complications. So what can we the people do to help the president or the ministers, or basically the presidency, tackle the terrorists and their financiers?
Now, there are many approaches to, tackling terrorism, or even the kidnapping that we are having right now as number one terrorist act in the country. And one important one that stands out is the all-society approach. All-society approach. And that approach involves everybody. When the military or the security agencies are fighting against Boko Haram and, any other bandit, like The soldiers are fighting Boko Haram. Security agencies are with them. They are fighting Boko Haram. And then the Nigerians are sitting on the fence watching. It's just like you're watching a football game, right? And two countries are playing. And the Nigerians are on the side watching and say, oh, okay, it's 1-0. It's why it's a goal, 2-0 or 1-1. You understand? That is the way that we have been approaching this.
All right, so please, can I pause you? We do have a commercial.
Yes.
We do have a commercial now, so I would ask you to just stay on the line, please.
All right.
Oh, I will pray. If I don't pray, Satan will make mess of me.
Niger Delta Diocese, St. Cyprian's Anglican
So I have as guest a retired assistant director of the DSS, Dennis Amachree, and I am Kalada Korubasibo. Both of us will be discussing, alongside you, of course, we're discussing on the issue of insecurity in the country, most especially the allegation that the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Atairu, was killed, and not that his plane crashed as a result of weather conditions. So I'm going to read an excerpt from an article, then we'll go back to what the guest was saying before we went for the commercial. Now, in no holds barred interview with This Day, Ali Kefi said Atairu devised the strategy to end terrorism in the north, part of which was infiltration of terror groups and the instigation of crisis among terror leaders, which culminated in the elimination of Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau by a rival terror group, Islamic State for West African Province. Part of the strategy was to also cut off the oxygen of terrorism, including funding and logistics, and to take down terror financiers. Ali Kefi stated Atairu and 11 senior military officers died in a plane crash in Kaduna when aircraft was preparing to land at the Kaduna International Airport. The crash also killed the crew members. Now, Ali Kefi, who had been billed to receive the late army chief as GOC 1 Division in Kaduna, pointed to the sudden change of time for Atairu's trip to Kaduna, the change of aircraft, the change of airport of landing from the military airstrip to the Kaduna International Airport, is landing in a turbulent, stormy weather, and the ear-shattering explosion that occurred before the crash. He also pointed to the fact that there was no crater, or is it crater now? I beg your pardon. There was no crater or impact on the crash area, noting that the bodies of the passengers were flung out of the aircraft and burnt beyond recognition long before the aircraft came down, a strong indication that there was an explosion. Welcome back, Mr. Dennis Amachree. It's good to have you.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you. So you were saying before the commercial break that the social approach is one way with which we can tackle this issue of terrorism and the financiers financing terrorism in the country.
Yes, I was saying that we can also use the all society approach.
Okay.
All society approach whereby everybody in the society is involved. It should not be like a football match, where Nigerians are sitting by the corner or sitting in their parlor watching what is happening on TV. So we need everybody to be involved. Because when there is a war, the bullet does not select, only soldiers to kill.
Okay.
Civilians can also be killed. So we want everybody to be involved. And that's why they said that if you see something, say something. Most of the things that happen in the society, like if there's an investigation today, it is not only security agencies or soldiers that are going to give information about it. People, civilians, even farmers, people, workers who are around the area, or people who have read or seen something could contribute by going ahead and telling the authorities that this is what I know, this is what I saw. And then those things will be taken into consideration and dealt with. So I think the time of, so to say, sitting on the fence is over, and I think everybody should be involved. I think that's what the society can do.
We have so many noble ideas as to solving the problem of insecurity in the country, especially terrorism. Reading that article, it shows that late Lieutenant General Atairu had a plan. He had a strategy in stopping the terrorist activities in the country. However, with the revelation, can I call it that, the epiphany that big or prominent Nigerians, could be politicians, could be businessmen, are financing terrorism, is there hope Is there hope that we will be able to surmount this challenge? I remember sometime the UAE brought out a list of the terrorism financiers in the country, and nothing was done. In my opinion, that is, of course, maybe we in the public do not have the information. We're not privy to the information. However, we've not seen anybody being punished. We've not seen anybody, facing the wrath of the law. So is there hope from your expert knowledge, being a part of the system once upon a time? Do you think there is hope in tackling this menace, given that now we know that big men, the so-called big men in society, are very much a part of the system, the terrorism system?
Yes, that is a very, very important point you just raised now. And that is that, it still boils back to the political will. UAE, the United Arab Republic, Emirates, came with a list of Nigerians, handed it over on a platter of gold to Nigeria that, look, these are the people that we know from our own system are sponsoring terrorism. Where did it end up? Maybe in the dustbin somewhere, because there is no political will. And of course, when you have people involved, when unnecessary people are involved, they will not pursue it. Remember that this terrorism or banditry or, they are criminal enterprises. They are criminal enterprises. Very, very lucrative and booming economy. The guns they buy, look, do you know when they say people don't think about it, but listen to this. 200 bandits on motorbikes, maybe on 100 motorbikes, in a way. One question that we never ask ourselves: who bought motorcycles? Who bought the fuel to fuel those motorbikes? One AK-47, about 300,000 naira in the black market. Who bought it for them? Now you can see the picture to you, but see that it is not just ordinary people. In fact, somebody, the Senator Shehu Sani of Kaduna State, just mentioned some 2-3 days ago that when the military even go and attack and even arrest some of these bandits who have been taking hostages and demanding and getting 100 million naira, this million naira, 50 million naira, 200 million naira, like that. When you see them, they don't have anything.
Yeah.
They are ragtags. They are not wearing a decent clothes. That's somebody who just took 100 million naira ransom. What does that tell you? It tells you that somebody else has collected the money and maybe given them pocket money to eat and then just to hold. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So this particular line of investigation has to be in depth.
But then again,
dig into it and then we can get them.
But then again, the question I'm asking is, of course, investigation into who the financiers are is very pertinent, but is there hope, given that these are friends of government or big men in government or businessmen in society that we possibly revere and we in our local parlance dobale to? So when you look at it from that, can we then investigate these people? Can we then you get the question?
Yes, they can be investigated. There is nobody who is above the law. There's nobody. Everybody who is criminally, or who has done an act of criminality can be investigated. Like I told you earlier, it depends on the political will of the president, or the executive governor or whoever, because these people have enormous powers that many people don't understand. And when they say he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he has the instruments to investigate anybody. And of course, in our history, if you look back, some very high-ranking people have been investigated, arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. Our former president, Obasanjo, was sent to prison. You know, so these are the kinds of things that would happen. But you must have the political will and then be raised by it. You know, sending to the security agencies is not important. It's very, very important, but it's not the main issue because they are ready to do their job. They are, but tomorrow you can tell them, oh, don't do it again. You know, we've had situations where even some military people came to say that they want to go and attack Boko Haram. They were ready and they know they want to go get them. And then, of course, somebody called and said, don't go for this attack again tomorrow. You see, these are the kinds of things, and all this sniper that are available in the public space. You know, if put together properly by the security agent and backed by the president, and he said, look, this thing must be dealt with. Go ahead and report, and they go. Then you start to see. You know, and that's why I'm saying that I'm very happy because right now you can see that even the EFCC is touching some very, very high-ranking people.
Yeah.
You know, who have committed these things and then hibernated and thinking that, oh, the Oga at that time will not touch me, no problem. But right now, some people are being touched and they will be pulled out. And the Nigerians are going to hear more about this kind of high-ranking people in society that have been sponsoring terrorism at the detriment of people of this country.
Okay. What asking so we can open phone lines? And the question is restructuring. We talk about restructuring a lot in the country. Some say let's actually practice federalism like it is, not the type that we've constructed. Do you think if resources are controlled at the state level or even at the local government level, a lot of this terror attacks will stop? A lot of this financing or financiers of terrorism would no longer be there. Do you think that will be the case? You know, what's your take?
Financing, well, the country needs restructuring. There's no doubt about it. You know, even in the security agencies, police, even in the society itself. Society needs a restructure because the structure we are running, I think, is archaic. The structure we got from Britain, you know, we're running a federalism which is not federal in nature. You know, you still have situations where people will say, oh, during election, and one, people believe that democracy is only elections. Do you understand?
Yeah,
there are a lot of things involved in the process or the political system of democracy. There is a lot of things involved, but many people believe that democracy is just elections.
Okay.
And during elections, you find out, this is not governor's candidate, or this is not Abuja candidate, this is not president and candidate, you know, and stuff like that. So you find out that actually we are not practicing democracy. We are practicing imposition, where they now bring somebody and say, this is the person you should vote for. In fact, in some cases, the people are not voting. They will rig the election in favor of somebody, a favored candidate. And of course, we are all witnesses to what is happening. You know, so restructuring is necessary. And of course, the federalism we are practicing is not the federalism that exists in other places.
All right, then. All right.
I know that there are no two federalisms that look alike, but our own federalism is skewed away, whereby we are not just, it's not democratic, you know, and it is not, it's not what people really practice.
All right.
There should be transparency in that kind of government.
All right. Okay. We would take some few calls and get your last words and wrap the show up. So 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003. or you can use this number 070-0923-0923. Let's get your thoughts and your contribution to the conversation. We're looking at insecurity, and most especially the revelation that emerged over the weekend, talking about the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Atahiru, being killed. Possibly, the allegation is strong, but it's coming from, a retired senior army personnel, and we're looking at it. And I will really want to get your thoughts. You've also heard what my guest has said. I've been talking to a retired assistant director of the DSS, and he goes by the name Dennis Amachree, and he said a lot. He said, see, it boils down to political will. If we have the political will, we can and should have been able to, deal with the banditry and terrorism that has been happening in the country. But he also did say that it points to the fact that prominent Nigerians are backers of the terrorists in the country. So what's on your mind? What is your take? I like to get your thoughts on it. But let's start with this call. Hello, what's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Very good evening. To the anonymous, is that okay by you?
Oh, it's fine. Let's go ahead.
Okay, Canada, I really worry when we engage in blame game in tackling our security problem in this country. I say so because you actually asked your guests why security agencies cannot, confront these security issues headlong. And his reply was that it would take the will of the president, if I heard him correctly,
okay,
to give the last command. And the question I ask, does the FBI or the CIA, do they, depend on the last order of the President of the United States of America before they do their jobs? And like I said, blame game. You made mention of the DSS, where your guest, which happens to be a constituency of your guest. I know that there was a time, the deputy governor of the BN, now Obadiah, something like that. That is simple. What the man gets in return, in percent is then use and defense. Because recently, we had it from the army that it's the duty of the police to tackle terrorism. I don't know whether you got that in any of your news bulletin or something like that, but that is it. And so for me, this blame game is just too unbearable for us. If we continue with this blame game, it is the president. The president will say, "Okay, I pay you salaries," as security officers, and you should do your job. And you in turn say it is the last order of the president that will do the job. Then where is the power, or where are the powers of the institutions constitutionally saddled, with the duties and obligations of tackling insecurity? That's the question I would want your guests to address.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Mr. Maka, you had what he asked and some of the points you raised.
No, I didn't hear. I didn't hear him at all.
Oh, really? Wow.
Maybe you can paraphrase what he just said.
Connection issues then. So he did say that why do we have to wait for the will of the president, for us to be able to tackle insecurity? Because in the United States, he mentioned that the CIA and the FBI do not necessarily require, the permission of the president to go about the functions of tackling insecurity. So he said, what happens to the power given to the institutions as enshrined in our laws? He also asked and mentioned Obadiah, a one-time deputy governor of the CBN who is now late, who talked about the terrorists in our various bushes, and he said all that he got was embarrassment from the DSS. So he's asking, why it is like that, and why we do a lot of blame game in the country.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that question, and I think it's pivotal on everything that is happening right now. One thing that I want Nigerians to understand is that unlike in the United States here, we have the FBI, we have the CIA, and other kinds of sheriff, the police, all of them have their jobs to do. You have the state police. You have, in New York here, we have the New York Police Department, which is one of the most efficient police departments in the whole world. And they are all doing their job. And they are doing their job properly without any kind of interference, because they are doing it according to their responsibility written out when they were established. Because if you are setting up a police unit, you have to tell them what to do. And that's the problem we're having in Nigeria right now, because they are saying, oh, don't create state police. If you create state police, the governor is going to use it against his opponents. No. If the state police is created, they will stick to their mandate, which is written out by the Constitution, and they will do it. Like the CIA, they don't have to go and take permission from the president. There are certain operations they carry out without the knowledge of the president. It is when they are finished, they tell him, and in Nigeria, you cannot do that. Because the DSS is a department. It is not independent. It's a department in the presidency. And if you look at the instrument that created them, it is written there. Any other duty that the president will direct. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So they are not independent. That's why when they do anything, it is according to what the president tells them to do. So it is not a matter of them not being able to do it.
Okay,
the political will.
We're out of time.
Go ahead, please.
We're out of time, so I would have to say my goodbye right now. But thank you very much for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then. I know a lot of you still have questions, but time is not our friend right now. And I read some of the messages I've got right now after the news at 6. To stay tuned. I'll be right back.